Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cool Companies You Should Know, brought to you by Career Club. I'm Bob Goodwin, the founder of Career Club. If you're not familiar with us, you're welcome to check us out at career.club, where we're using proven sales methods and tools to help folks like you find careers that matter to you. So today we are really excited. The theme of Cool Companies You Should Know is companies that may not be name brands or household names yet, but have a ton of momentum and are growing like crazy. And today's guest is no exception. We've got Tom Coburn, who's the co-founder and CEO of Jebbit. So with that, let me go ahead and get you on screen, Tom. And welcome.
How's it going? Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
No, we're super excited to have you guys have such a great company, and we're really excited to introduce our audience to you guys, maybe update some people on some things that are going on if they already know you, and if they don't, like I said, we're just really excited to introduce them to you. So with that, a little bit of history. The way that we like to do these is would love to just get to know you just real quickly, a couple of icebreaker questions, born and raised, family, and where you went to school.
Awesome. I was born and raised in a small town a little outside of Boston. It's called Hopkinton. It's where the Boston Marathon starts. For anyone out there who's run the marathon, you've been there. Nice. Grew up with my parents and two younger sisters and a couple of dogs. And I'm the oldest and ended up going out to Boston College. Did almost 4 years there, but I ended up starting Jebbit there and left a little bit early.
Awesome. Good for you. Well, those tend to be very good success stories of people who didn't quite make it all the way through college because their thing took off. And I think yours is no exception. So, our friends over at the CPG guys, which is how we met, I think Peter was saying, well, Tom, you're a serial entrepreneur. And you're like, well, maybe yeah, maybe no. Do you mind telling that story real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends how you define it, but I started Jebbit my sophomore year at Boston College, and it was technically the fifth idea I tried to start. So I did. I got there freshman year. I actually really didn't think I was going to be an entrepreneur. Our school had a business plan competition like most schools do now, where you can pitch an idea and win money. And to be honest, I was just trying to win the money that I was going to use to go try to pay for medical school, which is what I thought I was going to do because I was studying biology. And but we ended up working on 3 different ideas freshman year. None of them worked. Tried a different idea at the start of sophomore year, didn't work, and then started Jebbit the second semester of our sophomore year. So I guess in that sense, serial entrepreneur, if you want to count 4 very short failures and then eventually Jebbit.
Hey, well, if you figured out a great idea at 19 or 20, that's pretty good.
Fair enough.
So you guys are in the zero party data space. So I want to get into in just a minute, what the original founding idea was and that. But do you mind just explaining zero party data real quick for folks who may not be familiar with that term?
Yeah, it's a brand new term that Forrester is using, and really zero party data is a type of first party data. If anyone is, not familiar with zero party data to start, but it really just means data that a consumer willingly gives you. So as a consumer, which we all are, obviously, anytime you answer a question for a brand in a quiz, or you fill out a form for them, or you give them your email address with consent, you are providing zero party data. And there's a whole host of things happening in the world with privacy legislation and Apple and Google making some pretty big changes to the advertising industry. But the spark notes of it all are that brands have to get more of this zero and first party data if they want to be able to win in the future. It's really the only path forward. And it's the best way anyways. It's the most accurate data, and it's data you get directly from your customers with their consent. So you're not being, creepy and buying data on them and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, even implied in that, right, is a level of trust, which is what every brand wants.
Exactly.
Right? And to your point about not being creepy. So, but winding the tape back, at the risk of now figuring out your age, when was Jebbit born? How long has Jebbit been around?
Yeah, I'm 30 now. We started it technically 10 years ago when I was 20, or maybe I was 19. But we started it in school. I left school in 2013 to do it full time. So I would have graduated that May, but I left in January.
And so what was the founding idea? What was the business problem or the kind of the gap in the marketplace that you guys identified?
Yeah, like many early stage startups, we've pivoted multiple times. I
Yeah.
think it took us about, I'd say it took us about 8 years to really find product market fit. So not the fastest path, but to tell the story quickly,
Yeah.
the very original idea was I was watching a TV show on Hulu and I had a 30-second video ad before the show and I ignored it and went to Facebook. And I realized the brand was totally wasting their money. And I thought, what if we attached a question to the ad that verified you learned something from the ad and paid attention? And what if we only charged the brand for that answer and we actually paid users money for answering correctly? So you could get paid money to watch TV, which as a college student sounds great to me.
Good. Yeah.
We never actually launched that product, but we did win the business plan competition with that idea. And we launched kind of a simpler variation of that, which was a website that college students could log into. So you
Mhm.
had to have a .edu email address to get access. And you would get paid money to watch videos for brands and answer questions about them. So it's kind of a paid survey approach. And
Yeah.
we ran that company for about 2 years.
Yeah, to your point about college kids watching TV, I think if you could come up with an idea that has anything to do with free food, free beer, or free entertainment, you're well on your way to a good idea.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess you kind of already started kind of anticipating the next question, which is, what other people were doing was, just, well, here's an ad and people aren't engaging with it. And I think that's what you're starting to, or had started to kind of get at is, but are they really engaged?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's one thing to buy eyeballs. It's something
Mm-hmm.
else for the consumer to actually be engaged.
Totally.
And maybe you could kind of catch us up to your point, and we'll skip a couple pivots along the way. But
Yeah.
as you think about the product market fit now and kind of its current iteration, could you describe that kind of quickly?
Yeah, for sure. So I think I ran into some challenges with that first business we were trying to run. Primarily, I realized we were getting engagement for these brands, but we were paying the students money to be there. And
Yeah.
I think the blunt point is I was realizing these kids were just there to get their beer money and they didn't care what brands we served them.
Yeah.
And that felt really disingenuous to me. I didn't feel like we were really serving our brands well. And so
Mm.
after a couple pivots where we eventually landed and started to get some traction was just a platform that let brands build interactive experiences, mostly quizzes that could improve the shopping experience on their website. So let's say I love mountain biking and I land on a mountain biking website. The quiz might say, answer 5 questions and we'll recommend the right mountain bike for you.
Yeah.
And we built that software that lets them quickly build that. Because if you're a marketer at that mountain bike company, it's probably going to take your engineering team a lot of time if you can even get on their radar to build that
Yep.
out for you. And we built the software where without touching a line of code in under an hour, you could build that quiz out, set up all the logic, and get it on your website. And that started to really work. And we raised our Series A around that, and we started growing around that. And it was through that we honestly stumbled into, because I don't know if you explicitly made this point, but to just say it, I was not sitting there in college thinking about the privacy legislation that might be coming in 7 years and the way that the consumer data industry would change. But as we saw that happening in 2017 and 2018, we realized, wow, we actually have a phenomenal way to get consumers to declare data about themselves in a way that's not incentivized. When someone does that quiz as a consumer, they're doing it for genuine reasons. They care about mountain biking and it's going to save them time and give them a recommendation of the right mountain bike for them.
No, that's pretty cool. And then, so when you're speaking with a brand or a retailer, what's the explicit need that they're feeling that you're like, oh, I can go solve this for you?
It depends on the level of seniority of the person you're talking to. And simplify it into 2 buckets. I think executives at companies are really thinking about the long-term data strategy. And so we're able to go in and tell them stories of how some of our customers have now had over 100 million questions answered from dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of these experiences. If you're talking to someone more in the day-to-day of the marketing org, they normally have much more of a short-term need. I need to capture 1 million email addresses this quarter. I need to increase the conversion rate on our website by 0.5%, whatever it might be. And so when we are talking to folks that have more of that problem, for them, we talk more about how this quiz tomorrow will help you engage more people, capture more leads, drive more sales, et cetera. So I think the beauty of what we do is in one experience, you can both solve the needs of the lower level marketer that has this short-term objective while also helping the company transform their data strategy, which is something they're thinking about for years down the road.
Yes. And to your earlier point about like Google and Apple, I mean, it's just getting harder, right, for marketers to really accurately connect with consumers. And, I think the sort of the genius of what you guys have come up with is you're just like, well, we're not even going to play that game. That's not even a game we're solving. Let's just go directly and build a relationship with our consumer and bring value in that relationship. And the byproduct of delivering value is you guys get this zero-party data.
100%. It is crazy to me that no one built Jebbit before of what we're doing, and
thank goodness.
from the day, and I'm obviously I'm thankful for that. We've been able to build it and have some success so far, but I understand why it was never built from the data perspective, right? Because there wasn't this legislation, and the fact of the matter is it is easier to just buy third-party data than go develop relationships directly with your customers and get the data. But I'm surprised from just the shopping experience standpoint, it was never built, right? Back in 2015, when we were starting this, we were meeting all these brands who had a desktop website where you'd go and you'd have 50 mountain bikes there, and they knew all their traffic was starting to come on mobile where people have shorter attention spans, and all they did was shrink it down. They never thought about reinventing what that buying experience could be. And so I think that's what we've helped try to pioneer and try to get going.
No, super cool. So maybe to that point, in January, you guys got a very significant investment from Vista Equity, $70 million, if I'm remembering correctly.
Correct.
And for folks on the phone or on this call, if you're not familiar with Vista, they're the premier technology PE firm. And I think they still have 100% track record of picking winners, which is like 300 plus investments in, or whatever the numbers are now. My background at Numerator and InfoScout, we were part of the Vista portfolio, and it's a huge compliment to you that not only did you get their attention, but you got their investment. So huge props. With that said, what do you believe, or what did they tell you that they really saw in Jebbit that said, we want to put a pretty significant stake in you guys?
Yeah, we are super grateful and excited that they decided to come on board and they're our new partners. I think first and foremost, they saw a healthy business that was growing nicely over the last couple of years as we've been getting more traction and really starting to execute well, which I'm, guessing those are the first things they care about, right? Growth rate, retention, sales cycles getting shorter, all of those metrics that any investor cares about. But I think to give them a lot of credit, I think they spent a lot of time studying the market, and I think they can see where this is going and the importance that zero-party data is going to have over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And, that's getting more obvious to everyone as more quarters and months go by. But I think they were one of the earlier ones to really recognize that and see what's happening. And I know they've spent a ton of time talking to everyone in the space and did a lot in their diligence with us as they met us and they were trying to figure out if they wanted to make the decision. But I think if you talk to any of us in the space, and I talked to a lot of the other companies in the zero-party data space as well, like all the other CEOs, and I agree, we're still in maybe the second inning of brands actually prioritizing zero-party data. So, and as you know, from we talked about earlier, most people still don't even know what the term is. So it's definitely brand new.
No, super cool. And this is publicly available, so I'm not telling anything out of school, but the Endeavor Fund, 10 million minimum in ARR, right? So you guys were already doing well. And I think the quote was 300% increase in new business year on year.
Correct.
That's phenomenal. And that's before the investment. So, where do you guys see, allocating some of these dollars as you think about chip allocation?
Yeah, like most software companies, it's hiring people. That's the primary use of funds. We're approaching 100 employees now, and we're going to be trying to double that and continue to grow over the next year. So we're really revamping, our hiring process and our onboarding process and all of those things, because they start to break once you start scaling at those types of rates when you haven't been used to it. But outside of that, I think some of the obvious places will be investing more in marketing and in partnerships. Marketing related to what we were just saying about most people still don't know what zero party data is, and
Yeah.
partnerships in the sense that we are just the technology to build the experiences and capture the data.
Yeah.
We are not the end place the data lives, right? We're not the end data warehouse. We are not the place you use to then actually use that data to send personalized emails or run retargeted Facebook campaigns. So we are partnering and integrating with all of the major marketing technology players in the space. And it's our vision to just be the gold standard of zero party data that we can provide to all of them and their customers.
No, totally makes sense. And, again, for our audience, one of the reasons, I was so excited to talk to you is you're just like poster child for the thesis of Career Club, which is, again, companies that are raising significant amounts of money are scaling like crazy, and they're hiring across all functional areas. But to your point, I call that scaling out, but they're also scaling up. And so we need to continue to take the talent bar up, and we need people with different skills that maybe got us here to get us there, right? And yet they tend to be companies or in maybe categories we're not as familiar with. And so, I'm just so happy for you guys. But again, from an audience perspective, it's sort of proving another case of, see, like, here's these great companies just growing like crazy. You just need to get them on your radar. So maybe we could use that as a bit of a pivot. As you've kind of grown, maybe you could describe your leadership style, and then how's that evolved as you continue to get more experience?
Yeah, I think I've always said since day one, the two things I value most in anyone that's going to join the team are initiative and attitude. And I think the initiative stemmed from the standpoint of I had no actual skills like on paper to run this company, right? I was a bio major, didn't know how to code, didn't know how to read a financial statement, knew nothing about accounting, marketing, sales, all of these things. And so I remember being there in college and thinking, do I go learn any of these skills, right? Should I go teach myself to code so we can get this product built? Should I go teach myself the other areas? And as I started to go down any one path, it was like, okay, but that's only one of the things. If I teach myself how to code, what about all the rest of the business? And so I really made the commitment early on. I was just going to try to find great people and build a great culture. And I just had the belief, and you hear enough other CEOs talk about it and say culture is the number one thing. And I figured, okay, that's the thing I think I can do really well. And so the reason initiative was so important is I needed people that could actually figure it out and learn how do we build this product.
Yes.
Our first couple engineers were also college sophomores and juniors, and they had to go research how do we build this technology. And our first, my co-founder, Michael, that runs customer success now, like he built that team from day one. We didn't have customer success. So he had to go take the initiative to meet customer success leaders in Boston and learn from them, et cetera. Yes. And then just attitude, because it's a startup and so many things go wrong, and they're going wrong every day, right? Despite the funding news and the growth and getting to do interviews like this, it's like your whole day is just solving problems and fixing bugs or helping a client with a problem or whatever it might be. And so I just had no patience for anyone who was going to like get down or point fingers or have a negative attitude. And I think I was really lucky with that core team we built, those first like 10 students at Boston College, 10 or 15 that we created. I think they all were really high in those two areas. And then that is what has kind of created the base and what we've looked for in everyone else. So kind of the second part of your question, obviously over the years, I actually have learned a lot of skills and I actually know this industry pretty well now. And so I think things have evolved for me knowing nothing about it to now, I can, help coach our reps or folks on our marketing team or whatever it might be on how we want to talk about the industry and how to, help a customer who wants to do zero party data but doesn't know how to get started, how to help them figure out what the easiest starting points are based on where they're at today and how sophisticated they are. So I think I still look for initiative and attitude in everyone we hire, but I just have a lot more confidence now that I know the industry and I know the problems of our customers, and I can help coach people a lot more now.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of the cool thing about creating a category is you get to help define some of those things, which is really cool. I just for people who are listening, you talked about like, dude, I'm a sophomore in college. What do I know about all this stuff? how'd you get over your fear or your anxiety and just like, well, you know what, I'm still going to go for it, even though on paper I don't know any of this stuff?
Yeah. I kind of had this conversation with my parents when I was telling them I was going to drop out of school and go try to do this company that I had just raised a couple $100,000 for. And I don't know. I think there's like a certain element that I think a lot of founders are just born with. But I remember consciously just thinking like, the worst case scenario is I go for it and we totally fail, and I'm completely okay with that. Like I don't, not okay with it in the sense that
I know
like
what
I'm
you mean.
competitive and I want to win, but okay with it in the sense of like I'm not going to beat myself up if I went for it and gave it my all and it just didn't work out. And so I
Right.
think I always felt like I was just proud to be going for it. And I skipped, you asked me to skip some of the pivots earlier. I
Yeah.
skipped some really hard years where we were failing miserably by every metric. And there was a long period of time where my founders and I think there was like a 9-month period where we had to stop paying ourselves salaries because we were like 12 employees and we were about to
Yes.
run out of money and we didn't want to lay anyone off. And like, it wasn't like this was all easy, smooth sailing,
This big
getting
straight
going.
line, 45
Yeah,
degrees. Come
big,
on.
the 10-year overnight success. But yeah, but I think, I think I don't know if I naturally wasn't afraid of failure or if that was something I like coached myself on in my head. But
Yeah.
I remember always thinking like, you're going for it. So like, just be proud of the fact that you're going for it.
Well, I love what you said too. What's my worst case? I'm 20 something years old and, I'll go back and finish my degree and go get a job. And I've got a bunch of experience that I can go market. Can we double click on attitude? Initiative to me, I think on its face, I understand enough of what you mean. Can you double click on attitude and what some of the kind of attitude attributes are that you look for in team members?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite mantras is your attitude is fueled by gratitude, or at least a positive attitude is, I should say. And so I'm very big on gratitude. Like I'm someone that does the right 3 gratitudes down every morning, whether it be a big thing or a little thing like enjoying your cup of coffee or whatever it might be. And I think that one day I asked Michael, one of my co-founders, like why he stuck with it through all the really hard years when we were like failing miserably and not paying ourselves salaries and things like that. And I didn't remember saying this, but he told me that one day I came in to the company and we had raised $2 million. We had burned through probably half of it. I think we had like $1 million left. We had shut down the college website because we were pivoting, but we didn't know what we were pivoting to yet. So we had no business. We had stopped doing revenue. We had no business. And I said, look, we could look at this as we've burned half our money. Our investors are probably getting worried and we don't have a business and we're not doing any revenue. Or we can look at it as we have $1 million in the bank to go build anything we want. Like we've got this great team of, I think we were 8 or 10 people at the time. And what would you have all thought if 2 years ago I was like, hey, we have $1 million to go build anything we want? And he said that line really stuck with him. And I think that's the type of like gratitude I'm talking about. Is do we want to focus on all the problems or do we want to focus on how grateful we are for this opportunity? And I think if you have that and you foster that, I think it helps when things go wrong and it leads to less negative stress and less finger pointing and less of the things that I try to make sure are not part of our culture at all.
Yeah. What else besides gratitude? What do you see in teammates, and people that like you haven't worked with for 10 years, but they've joined the company the last 2-3 years, a year, whatever. Like you've got your eye on them. What are you seeing in them?
I think curiosity is also another really important thing. I don't know if that fits into attitude specifically, but I think the ones who are one of the things that surprises me is I'll offer my time to anyone at Jebbit that wants it. And it's a minority of people that proactively request it and want to ask a ton of questions.
Yeah.
But the ones, I mean, this isn't true 100% of the time, but I think the trend I see is the more someone is just super curious and has a million questions and just like really wants to learn, I tend to find they're someone that ends up, really thriving and really doing well. So I think that's a quality that's really important. We're really big at Jebbit of asking for help is a strength and not a weakness. I think that's something that we talk about all the time. But the flip side of that is you're creating the culture is people have to actually respond to those requests for help, right? When someone raises their hand and says, hey, can you help me with this? If everyone else is like, I'm so busy with my stuff, I can't stop and help you, then I can sit there and say, ask for help. It's a strength until I'm blue in the face. But human nature is you're going to stop asking. If the first time, 5 times you ask, no one responds. And so one of the things I hear a lot from new employees at Jebbit who are talking about their first 2 or 3 months is they're amazed at how helpful everyone is. And they're amazed at how much people will give up their time, where they'll ask someone and that person like drops what they're doing and spends 25 minutes with you to help you solve a problem or help you learn something. And I think we all know, especially going into a new industry, which we continue to hire people at Jebbit all the time that have no experience in the marketing tech world, right? So, if anyone is watching this and thinking, oh, Jebbit sounds like an interesting culture to me, but I don't know if I have the fit, highly encourage you to still talk to us because we're looking for those intangible qualities that I'm talking about. And so I think a lot of people join and they're afraid to ask the dumb questions. And that's something we're trying to completely eliminate, right? There is no dumb question, but it requires everyone who's here and who's been learning, when they do get that request for help, to actually prioritize it.
And so this is exactly like why we wanted to do this. This whole series on cool companies, you're doing it right now, which is you're humanizing the company, right? You're not a press release. You're not just, some investment, but the kinds of things that you're talking about, like gratitude, right? And curiosity and initiative and helping other people. And like, you believe this. You're not like, you didn't have to go look down, like, what's the other thing we believe in? It's like, it's visceral and it's great. And I think that last point that you made, I'd really like to maybe we can pivot into some of the talent needs and stuff at this point, but it's such an important point in my view that you just made, which is, yes, hard skills, having some of the requisite technical skills are important, but sometimes people get so tangled up and you don't have industry experience, therefore you're disqualified. And in my view, that's a giant mistake because I think that they're walking away from so much of the potential talent that's out there. Is that a learned behavior for you, or just something that you've always kind of believed that's you don't have to be a marketing geek to be potentially a great fit at Jebbit?
For us, that's just my own experience. I was studying biology and I launched this marketing company. So to me, it's just like, how hypocritical would it be if I was sitting here today and I was like, no, you need to have a lot of marketing tech experience to join Jebbit. And of course, look, there's exceptions here and there of like really senior roles where it's actually pretty important to know the whole marketing tech landscape and things like that. But like, generally speaking, it's just my core belief of if you get the right people in and you create the right culture, they can learn the X's and O's. They can learn, what zero party data is and what a CDP is and how our integrations work and all that stuff. Like, that stuff is not rocket science at the end of the day. But getting the right culture and finding people that have the right, I think, intangible views on life and softer skills, I think that is much harder.
Yeah, I'm very much in the camp. If I can't teach tall, I can't teach fast, right? I can teach how to be a tight end or a linebacker, right? It's new information, but it's not difficult. It's just new, and smart people and motivated people will figure it out quickly. So starting to bring this home a little bit, as you guys think about some of your key talent needs functionally, what's sort of the top of your list?
Well, the short answer is we're hiring across every department, like you said earlier, growing quickly. But partnerships is going to be really important to us. And so bringing on a global head of partnerships is something that's going to be a really important move here. Finding someone to lead demand generation for us on the marketing side, that's a really important one. More PMs and more engineers. We could never have enough of those. So those are really important, but we're hiring everywhere.
Okay. And then also kind of the more back office things like HR and finance and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll probably be bringing on a CFO at some point, which is a role, I've never had in my 10 years of running Jebbit. Yeah. So that will hopefully be exciting, but it's one of the awesome parts of working with Vista, like you were talking about earlier, is they've just seen so many companies scale, from where we're at to where we want to go. And so, they're really helpful partners and advisors on helping us think about where we need to add talent.
Cool. Is there anything because I've been guiding this conversation, is there anything that we haven't been talking about with sort of the Jebbit story, or things that you would say to a potential future employee?
I don't think that we haven't covered off on. I think if I started talking, I would rant about initiative and attitude again, and the important things there. So no, nothing that's coming top of mind.
Okay, cool. If somebody wants to learn more about Jebbit, what's the best way to do that, Tom?
Jebbit.com. There's also a bunch of videos on YouTube if you want to see more of our interviews or customers talking about us or things like that. But I'd start with Jebbit.com.
Okay, cool. This has been phenomenal. Like I said just a minute ago, the reason I love doing this is, the real flesh and blood, people that have real beliefs. I think one of the things the pandemic has definitely driven home for folks is that the company that they work at needs to align with their values. And and that's why I really like spending a lot of the time on what do you care about? What do you really value? What's important at Jebbit? So that people go, yes, that aligns with me, because I genuinely believe that's how you get the best out of people, because they're in water that feels good to them, right?
Absolutely.
Instead of trying to fight against something that's not natural. So this has been wonderful. I love what you had to share. Again, congratulations on the funding. As you said, though, that 10-year overnight success, and I love the humility of admitting hey, we were failing miserably. This wasn't going well. We keep figuring this thing out, but we figured it out. I always use the example. I start talking with my hands like a Rubik's Cube. You just got to keep playing with it, and it's never solved, right? You're always playing with it. So this has been wonderful.
There you go. There's my Rubik's Cube.
There you go. It's the number one. So I think I'm getting ready to beat myself on the next one with one that's out right now. But my most viewed post is talking about a Rubik's Cube, and
that's awesome.
Just keep playing with it and keep playing with it. It's not about solving it. It's about not giving up.
Absolutely.
It's a persistence on it. And, so anyway, this is great. We're getting some really nice comments in here. Looks like somebody says they want to see your Vista investment on the website. I don't know if that's on there yet or not. But
I think if they just Google Jebbit Vista, I'm sure the article will pop up.
I'm promised I'll find it. So, Tom, I just want to say thank you. Congratulations on everything. And we wish you nothing but more success. And again, I think we've got some really nice comments here from folks. And it's the kind of thing that I think is going to help you win this talent war. When you're competing with so many other companies, it's this sort of kind of thing you can see from the comments that people really value. So I thank you. Wish you a great rest of the week and a great weekend. And thanks for spending some time with us today. For our audience, I just want to say thank you. This is all available also as a podcast. At least it will be in about 5 minutes from now. And thank everybody for investing a few minutes to learn about Jebbit. And again, Tom, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.